Now, this morning, the Work and Pensions Secretary Amber Rudd is calling on politicians to work together to sort out Brexit. She's urging the PM to consider forging a consensus in Parliament, having returned from Brussels empty-handed. Well, let's head to Westminster. We can talk to Tom Harwood, a Leave supporter and reporter at Guido Fawkes, and the Independent's political commentator Shahab Khan, who's a Remain supporter. Good to see you both, gents, this morning. Tom, a consensus? Is this the way we need to move now?
This is extraordinary. It sort of brings up ideas of a national government and sort of the words that we haven't really heard since the Second World War. Do Remain politicians in government really think that we're at a stage that, you know, we've got the Luftwaffe over the skies of London? It's ridiculous. The idea that we should be reaching out to what is, quite frankly, a quite extreme opposition party in order to pass what should be quite a simple idea in terms of extracting ourselves from the European Union, it's a nonsense. What Theresa May should have done on Thursday was not taken the beating that she took from the European Union. She should have stood up, walked out of that conference and said, right, we're preparing for no deal. And if you don't want no deal, EU, you come talk to me, not vice versa.
Shahab, yeah, it's a nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the simple fact of the matter is the parliamentary arithmetic means that a deal isn't going to be put through, so something needs to be done to break that. That leaves us with, I think, three options. The first one is we have another general election. Now, that's definitely not going to happen because the Tories aren't going to vote for it. Second option is a final say or a people's vote referendum. I think there's been a lot of momentum in that direction in recent weeks. We may see that happen, but again, the logistics behind it, what the question would be, what the answers, the potential answers would be, how it could be implemented, the time frame, they are all up in the open, so it makes it incredibly difficult. And the third option is this idea of a consensus government where the parties get together and work together. Is that going to happen? I don't think so. And I think the one clear reason why is because this issue is incredibly difficult. And I think Corbyn is probably trying to steer clear of it just because his voter base is so split. It probably works in his benefit to turn that away and say, no, I don't want to do that. I'll let Theresa May get on with it and I'll let her continue to make an absolute mess of it. And I'll come in after this mess has been done with.
Yeah, the interesting point, though, is that the three options you mentioned, Shahab, you say none of them will work. Well, therefore, isn't Tom right when he says the option of saying, you know, actually, we're walking out, we're preparing for a no deal. If you want to sort something out better, come and talk to us. You've ruled everything else out.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't ruled them all out. I've just said there are negatives to each of the three options. There isn't an easy solution here. I think Tom mentioned the idea of walking away with no deal. I think that would be absolutely catastrophic. There isn't a single major country on this earth that deals with every other nation on WTO terms. We would be the only country that doesn't have any agreements with anyone. We'd be walking away with there would have to be a border in Ireland. These are all issues that would be incredibly catastrophic to the UK. And I think the European Union knows that, and that's the reason why they are saying, this is the deal. You either walk away and get no deal, which we know you won't do. On top of that, there isn't actually a majority in Parliament to allow a no deal. We've seen with the Greaves Amendment that the MPs will have a significant say over the outcome if May's deal doesn't get through. They won't let a no deal happen. I think the major issue here is that the arithmetic in Parliament means that we're at a deadlock. Something needs to be done to break that. And the answer isn't May turning around and walking away from the European Union. The answer is actually solving it in Westminster. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks.
OK, Tom?
I feel like it's quite the opposite, actually. At the moment, it's right that there's no majority for anything in Parliament, but that means that automatically on the 29th of March next year, if nothing is passed in Parliament, if this deadlock, this stasis continues, then we leave with no deal. It's actually up to the executive to decide whether they want that or not in terms of prolonging things in Parliament so that we reach that point, which is why the ERG was pushing for a change in the executive earlier this week. But really, if no deal is certainly an option on the table, and the fact of the matter is, if nothing happens, that's where we end up. So it should be sensible and prudent, and it's really the right thing to do now for the government to ramp up those preparations and actually look like we can get ready for the 29th of March, where we don't end up with this cliff edge situation. We need to move to no deal in a managed sense, talk about what parts of the agreements that have been proposed to be agreed with the EU can be kept in terms of keeping skies open open, allowing planes to fly over, all these sort of things that are non-controversial in the agreement, the first 95% of the agreement, if you will. No deal doesn't mean zero agreement. It just means that there won't be a comprehensive FTA. There'll be lots of little deals that we can move towards, and that's what the government should be looking to do now.
I mean, do you actually think that is a preferred option, Tom? Or would you, when you started out by saying, well, let's walk away and let the EU come back to us, would you prefer that? Would you prefer a deal rather than walking away?
Of course, I'd absolutely prefer a deal, and actually under any situation I feel like this is inevitable. It's more about the time frame. Walking away with no deal now doesn't mean that we'll never have a deal. What it does is it extracts us from the Article 50 process, that horrible time limit that's put such pressure on these negotiations, and it means that we will have a deal eventually, just not by the 29th of March.
OK, Tom, Shahab, there we have to leave it, I'm afraid. We haven't come to any consensus between you two, but that doesn't surprise me, really. Good to see... Oh, go on, briefly.
I actually agree with Tom. I think Tom is right about one very key thing, and it's this idea that if we do walk away with no deal, it means no deal forever. That's not true. I think Tom is hitting the nail on the head when he says that we've been put into this time frame where we're having to negotiate everything very quickly, and that has happened because Theresa May triggered Article 50 too early. She triggered it without a plan, without any idea which direction she's going in, and that is why we are in this mess.
Oh, well, so there you go. A little point of agreement, which is...
Consensus.
Makes a pleasant change. Good to see you both this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's the spirit of Christmas.